Hello everyone. It's been a little while since I've done an update on learning to draw from my imagination. Now, historically, I've drawn from life, either from photos, this was from a photo reference, or I've drawn from, still life or from what I see. I am trained in that sort of thing. I learned how to do figure drawing and stuff like that, which is all, of course, from life. And I work larger than this sometimes, but I do like to work small quite well. So yeah, but in January, and if I seem a little tired, I'm still recovering. I'm going to talk about that because this is also a bit of a life update. I made a video, a few people saw it, but that was still more than I thought would. And if you're curious about that first video, it's called Doodleheads, where I talk about this sketchbook. But then I just had to focus on me for a bit, and it's because I became sick in January. And I had to recover. So I'm still a little bit run down from that, but I'm doing a lot better. So this is the sketchbook I decided to draw in while I was not feeling well, because I needed an activity, like something to do. And so while I know how to draw, I'm going to mark this page because I want to do a comparison, but while I know how to draw from life and using a lot of different materials. I do oil, ink, watercolor, digital, a lot of different things. I hadn't really been successful historically with learning to draw from my imagination. And I decided, why not? Why not be a beginner when I'm already kind of down in the dumps and just really uncomfortable? And it was the perfect distraction. And I'm going to get into the life update part of this video later and talk more about, what I was dealing with, but let's just look at the art for now. So I'm going to open up to the first page of the current sketchbook, which is here. That's what I was just marking. And then I'm going to open up to the current page, or no, the first page, sorry, of, let's see, I marked it, didn't I? Yes. Because this is an older sketchbook that I, kind of ruined. I'll show you. Because this is what we're going to talk about, but it was a different sort of sketchbook. I was doing these cute little doodles, and I was trying some stuff with mixed media, which is how I thought I had ruined it, because the paper can't handle mixed media. Not really. And then I stuck it on a shelf, because at that time I was dealing with a lot of perfectionism, and sketchbooks were an art object in and of themselves for me at that point. And so I stuck it on a shelf, kind of forgot about it. And then it was the perfect sketchbook to be a beginner in, because I was already, I'd already ruined it, so it wasn't so precious to me. But you can really see the jump in comfort level. Now, I'm going to talk about both. Well, this one is largely empty still, but so mostly we're going to talk about the sketchbook. Now, when I did the Doodleheads video, I was, let's see, probably here, around here, with drawing, maybe a little further. Yeah, about here. I remember this page. But, and I'll just flip through the end a little bit so you can kind of see how things progressed. And this is how I practice a new skill. A lot. I throw myself in and I try not to think too much and I just go, go, go. There's still some things where there's obviously a good amount of struggle going on, but then there's success that happens as well. And compared with the early pages, I have a lot more confidence toward the end. So there is some early success though, so let's take a look. Now the red is older. When I don't know what I'm doing, I draw in either red or blue. So the red is older, and then like this one, for example, I tried to go back in with black and actually made everything worse. But I did have some early success, especially here. This I just lucked into. I did not do that again for quite a while. These two were just, I just kind of accidented my way into that. But more typically, it looked like, let's find one that's more representative of early struggle, that or all of these. So let's see, I had where'd it go? I just saw it. Now this is two that's worth looking at because the red, of course, is earlier. But I didn't really mean to make the same head side by side like this. And this is only about a week or two apart as far as progress. And this is once again, some early success. Not all of the ones in black are successful, but this one is looking more like what I was going for. Of course, when it comes to stylized work, you can agree with me and disagree with me and whatnot as far as what I say is successful. Like maybe you won't agree, and that's fine. Stylized work is lovely that way because you can really choose what you want your work to look like. So, but I just think these two are interesting to see. That only a week of just throwing myself into this, I got this much further. I do have a lot of experience in the arts. I've been drawing for, 35 years or something, so I know how to be a beginner, I know how to practice, and I know how to not be upset when things like this happen to me. So, yeah. Just flip through this kind of quickly so you can see. I'm still trying to figure out how to do the whole body from my imagination. That is still, I'm recently made some progress there. So I'll show that because that's been a long time coming. When I draw from my imagination, this is more typical. I do these little ghost kitties and I have a lot of fun with those, but I've always wanted to learn kind of the animation, stylized people. And I can follow along with tutorials, but then when I strike out on my own, I sort of just revert back to not knowing what I'm doing. So this is what this sketchbook was about. I decided no tutorials. I'm just going to draw. I'm going to, just go, and it won't always be successful, and that's okay. And I'm going to pay a lot of attention to what I'm up to. And some of the early stuff was like, I noticed if I started with the eyes, it didn't always go well. So I started for a long time. The very first shape I would make was the nose once I'd put the guidelines in. I found I used this diamond shape for the nose, and that worked well. And I'll draw on camera and demonstrate all of this. I've kind of abandoned that early strategy of always starting with the nose. I'll try to remember how it was in the beginning. But really how I do it is probably not so important. Because what I found is that the most important thing was for me to just go, fail a lot, and then kind of go, okay, where am I going off from my goals? Where am I not succeeding? And then trying to sort of reverse engineer from what my mind's eye wants, if that makes any sense at all. And it worked. I mean, you can see how much. Let's fast forward a little, go a little faster, but I'm just mostly showing this because so people can get an idea of what my practice looks like when I'm learning something new. Yeah, now let's go to the new sketchbook. Let's put that off to the side. So this is the new one that I'm working on, and it's mostly empty, like, because I just opened to any page to get going. And here we are. This was just like a few days ago. I was able to do this, and I'll talk more about how I reverse engineered out of some problems here. I'll do that. I don't feel I have the energy to draw the whole figure on camera tonight, but I will draw the doodle heads. And you can see where I'm at now compared with where I was a number of months ago, and we'll chat about life and whatnot because I've had some things going on. So let me zoom in the camera. Hold on. There, hopefully this will be a good angle and I won't have the zoom shifting a whole lot. That sometimes happens. So first let's just chat about why did I take this on anyway? Because I typically do work that's much more involved. Let me back it up a little. I have a leg condition. I developed it almost 4 years ago, and some other health things. I'm otherwise fairly healthy, but it's funny how that happens. Even if you try to take really good care of yourself, sometimes life just throws curveballs at us. Anyway, so I developed this leg condition, and it changed my world quite a lot and limited my mobility to some degree. And then I was at the hospital for some routine things, And unfortunately, you know, things are not as safe as they really ought to be for people like myself. And I ended up catching COVID from the hospital, which was a difficult thing. And then, unfortunately, it turned into long COVID for me. So I was, I'm much better now, so that's part of the reason I feel willing to talk about it. For a while, I was just so in the turmoil of it, I didn't really want to, I mean, I just need to focus on myself and whatnot. But yeah, I'm doing a lot better now. But I needed something to distract me. And you can see how fast these little guys work up. So I figured these would be perfect for distracting me. I was already kind of feeling rather poorly, and I thought, why not? Why not be a beginner? It's funny how sometimes when I'm already feeling very low, I don't mind being vulnerable, and being a beginner requires a degree of vulnerability. So yeah, I took this on, and it was a really good choice for me. I managed to convert something unpleasant into, you know, something that I'm now very pleased to have developed this skill. And this demonstrates kind of where I'm at now. Some issues that I have is I'm dealing with same face syndrome, if you know that term. And all of my facial expressions are rather placid, so I'm gearing up to start getting brave enough to do things like open the mouth, which is always a frightening prospect because of teeth. But yeah, still a lot further along than I was when I began all of this. Now let's talk about, I think I'm recalling how I did it in the beginning. So I always started with this circle and line down. I try to do this part as faint as possible because as far as form, especially this one, breaks it because it can give the impression of a cheekbone. Oh, I'm off frame a little bit. It can give the impression of a cheekbone. You know, if it's too dark, it just really breaks the form. And I mean, of course, people are free to do whatever they like with stylized drawing. So if you find this sort of a thing useful, by all means. I'm not finding it useful at this point, so I'm trying to go lighter with these construction lines. But then in the beginning, I was noticing that, you know, dot, dot, dot is about where the ear would go. So it was things like that, structures like that were really helping me for the 3/4 view head. And then I tended to put, I think I put the forehead in. No, I'd put the nose in next. Or sometimes I would even start with the nose and do diamond and then dot, 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 and then put the profile. But for the most part now, I've largely gotten comfy enough. I just kind of do it by feel, and if I don't like a line, I just draw right over it. That's one of the nice things about ballpoint. I'll talk about line quality briefly. Because, so if you get, let me use a typical grip. I use an unconventional grip when I draw, but I know a lot of people use this one. So if you get very far up on the line, just cross hatch over here. It's very, you know, it's dark, like, but then if you go further back, it's much lighter. So depending on where you grip on the barrel will give you a different type of line. So in the beginning, I tend to go about, you know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches off the nib, and that gives me a medium kind of line. And then I can change my decisions. I can go back in. Other things I remember noticing in the beginning. I mean, this one, it's funny. I'm less pleased with this, and I wonder if it's because I'm following my early rules. Those rules from the beginning. Yeah, because I think I like the nose to be a little bit less long now. Anyway, another thing that I noticed when I was starting off was that in the very beginning I was making this eyebrow way too long. And it's helpful, at least for 3/4 view, to remember that it's quite short and it will hang off the forehead a little. Now I'm enjoying these big, bold, and chunky eyebrows, but you know, you can stylize semi-realistic characters however you want. the ears are a fun place to mess around with shapes. I tend to like this kind of like 2 shape, or sometimes it looks like a 5. But people use X's, people use little V's. You can just go down the alphabet and try putting different things in and see if any of them are fun to you. It's really all about what you like. And it's been another aspect of this that I've enjoyed, is helping me get in touch with what do I like. Drawing from reference means that I'm taking instruction from the reference, but with this I'm taking instruction from myself, so it's been rather an exploration of self. I've been enjoying it a lot for that, especially in a time where I've, really been struggling in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I've been very busy with unfortunately difficult things, but there's also been some good stuff. So the happy news is I moved to a situation that will be better for my mobility. I know, but with these things, like, it's not like I saw this coming for me. So, I abruptly needed to adjust a lot when my leg condition developed. And I am doing a lot better with it now, but it's been a long road. And this move is another step in the right direction of embracing it as opposed to fighting it. Because where I used to live, even just things like, taking the trash out was kind of too much for me at times. So everything is now more achievable, and that's a wonderful thing. I've reduced the lift on a lot of, life's just kind of daily things, regular things, weekly things, what have you. So I'm hopeful that I'll be able to post more often, have more of a creative presence online. And I guess, that leads me sort of to, if anyone's found this space and is finding it beneficial, I hope it to be kind of a relaxing, creative environment. I used to be a public school teacher. Well, let me back up. Before that, I was an artist. But as many artists do, I taught. Many artists teach kind of on the side. And over time, I found that I really enjoyed teaching. And so I went ahead and got credentialed to be a public school teacher. And so I was a classroom teacher for 5 years. Prior to that, I had been a sort of a traveling teacher. I was teaching the arts. I even taught kind of rock climbing for a little while, jewelry making, all sorts of things. I taught pretty much every age group, and found I seemed to be successful at it, effective, I should say. And so I went into public education for 5 years, and I was a middle school teacher for English and history. And it was a nice thing. I enjoyed it, mostly. I enjoyed working with the students. I wasn't such a fan of the grading and the administrative side, but that's just the nature of schools. And then I moved at that time as well. After 5 years of teaching, I had to move. And then I looked at, kind of the culture of schools where I had moved to. Unfortunately, I saw many of the same problems in my old district were across the country, because I had moved across the country. And I was like, oh, that was sort of disappointing to learn that was the case. That was a consistent issue. But I was looking at how could I work with schools without working with schools, if that makes sense. I didn't feel I had it in me really to be a classroom teacher, but I had some, I was very good at working with certain, essentially kids who don't want to be there. That was one of the things I was particularly good at. So I thought maybe I could, offer some type of way of working with schools, but not as a classroom teacher, like some sort of something. I was gonna figure that out. But then I developed a leg condition, and the pandemic really changed what safety looks like in schools for me. I unfortunately just can't. I must stay safe in ways that a lot of societies decided they don't need to. And so that's, it is what it is. And I hope that the internet might allow me to bring some of the energy I used to bring successfully to the classroom. And just share what I'm up to, share resources, talk about materials, maybe a bit of life stuff will come in, like adjusting to being disabled and things like that. Who knows? I'm kind of, one of the more interesting things about becoming disabled is I couldn't make plans anymore. My body throws codes, so I have to let it take charge. And I used to be one of those people who loves making lists, loves making plans, and now I just kind of have to go with the flow more. But the nice thing about that is it's taken me some directions I never would have chosen. So I guess if I'm seeming waffly, it's because I'm not defining this. I'm gonna let it take shape rather organically, see what happens. Yeah. I have to be like this. And and it's not all difficulty. I've really come to be quite happy. I don't like sayings like what doesn't do you in makes you stronger. I don't like those sayings at all, because when you're in the thick of it, it sounds like a cruel thing to say. Adjusting to being disabled is tied with the hardest thing I've ever gone through. But now that I'm on the other side of the great difficulty, I do feel very happy. And, it would have been nice to be able to get the lessons from it without all the hardship. But I'm very happy. And I don't, when people tell me, oh, I'm so sorry, when they hear about my leg condition, I don't always respond because I don't always have the energy, but I think every time, don't be. So, anyway, hopefully this gives you an idea as to what kind of space this will be. Hopefully it's just a gentle, relaxing, learning kind of space. And and I don't have any shyness at all about people seeing like my struggles with growth in the arts. So that can be a useful thing. I guess another thing that's important to mention is I don't have a style. At this point, I'm over the age of 40, so I really don't think it's going to happen for me. And I'm rather okay with that. But it's not super represented on the internet, is it? People with no style. I have tried to niche down several times, and it just doesn't go well for me. I'm too curious. I see something and I want to try it. So, yeah, but I don't think I'm unique either. I have a feeling that there are lots of creative people like myself, and maybe it would be useful for younger artists to see someone who's become comfortable in that, because it's not a super common thing. And I've kind of, let's see, I was a ceramics major in college. I took enough art history to have minored in it. I took jewelry, textiles. Then I ended up, I don't do ceramics anymore at all, really. Well, not really. I haven't touched clay in years. Last time I touched it, I was teaching a high school course. So, yeah, but I'm a dabbler. But while I don't have a consistent style, and I tend not to stick with one material for very long, I do have consistent themes, and that mostly shows up in my digital work, which I should share more to this channel. I've shared a few things, but not that many, I don't think, so I'll try to do better with that. Now that I'm feeling better, I have more energy, and I should be more consistent with sharing what I'm up to. So we'll see. But yeah, while I don't have a consistent style or any kind of niching that way, I do have consistent themes that have been present for a good long while by now. Some of the themes have been present for like 20 years, others about 10. So, and we'll see where this goes. This is a new thing for me, but it is starting to become very consistent. So, yeah, now let's turn back, because I've been drawing for a little while now. Let's turn back and talk about the figures. because this is a new development. Now, yeah, I really struggled to learn this. Every time I tried to draw the whole figure, it was a disaster. Now, I can draw from my imagination, but like I said, not from, or sorry, reverse. I can draw from life, but not from my imagination. And so what was going on is I was drawing these stylized heads that were very established, I guess is the best word for it. I mean, I hope to continue growing with these because at this point I'm dealing with same face issues and a constantly placid expression. But, you know, for now it's fairly well established. I'm pleased with where I'm at. And so I would draw this established head and then this kind of wispy, explorative mishmash of lines underneath it. So it would look like this established head floating on top of this cloud of searching lines. And I was like, okay, moving from an established head to a cloud of searching lines, this disconnect was making my brain sort of not do good work in terms of that reverse engineering I was talking about. And so that was one issue. Then the other issue is always starting at the head and moving my way down made it so that when because I could handle it up until about here. I've got the bust figured out, but then moving from the upper torso to the mid and lower torso, just my brain just probably made things more complicated than it needed to be, and things would fall apart, especially by the time I got to the legs. So for these, thinking of the reverse engineering, I was like, okay, that's a pattern, that's a problem, it's a pattern problem. Let's break it. Let's break the pattern. So I decided to start with the hips and thighs. And for the first one, I really just eliminated hips and thighs with this pose. I started with the shins, which was these two. I just did two oval shapes and then built the body around it. And it was quite successful. It was the most successful imagination figure drawing I'd done. Then the next one I did was this one, which is the one I'm the least happy with. Mostly because it's leaning, and to make it work, I would have to have a wall or a tree or something because the figure is tipping over. I have noticed that with all of these, they're all tilting slightly to the left. So you can't really tell, but you can see like for the up and down, it's all slightly to the left. That will go away with practice. That's just something that shows up when you're starting out. Think about how you have to tilt the paper a little bit even to write. So yeah, but it's something I can observe that I have a tendency to make them all tilt. And this one's my favorite. So yeah, I just started at the hips and thighs and built the body up and around those, and it worked so well. So I can't really say that I'm going to be doing tutorials necessarily. One of the funny things is through my whole journey of learning to manage my health and whatnot, I found I'm very wary of advice because so frequently people give it and they don't really have a position to give advice. And while I am knowledgeable about art making is so individual. So mostly what I encourage is for people who are starting off to really listen to themselves. And that's what this whole thing of drawing from my imagination has been. Make a shape and ask myself, do I like it? Make a face and ask myself, is this face successful for what my goals are? It was all about really asking me what I wanted. And that's such a different thing than something like this. Because with something like this, I'm paying very close attention to the reference, and the reference is giving me instruction. Yeah. So I will share what works for me, but it's by no means like, do this or for the purpose of success. It's perhaps at best try this and see if you like it. Now, just for the heck of it, I'll show you what else I'm up to because I mentioned that I don't stick to any one thing. And where'd it go? So this is a material that's quite fun. It's called Yupo, I think. I might be pronouncing that wrong. But this is a polypropylene watercolor paper, and it's very different. So where's the other one? I have one that's did I misplay? Oh no, it's right there. Okay. So this stuff is slick, very slick. And It is for, it says on one, I have a larger pad as well that has more information on it. It says it's acid free and things like that. So it's a very slick type of paper. And if you are, for anyone who's maybe a bit shy about the permanence of watercolor paper, this stuff's great, because if I didn't like it, I could take a wet paper towel and wipe it and it would probably get back to this white brightness. Because I used a little corner of a wet paper towel to clean that up. I mean, I left it pale, but then I wanted it even brighter, so I went back in and cleaned it up a bit. But yeah, this is sort of what I'm up to a little bit. Abstracted landscapes. I think I'm going to put a very dark red sun in the center of that, and maybe a little tiny cat character like those that, yeah, like the cartoons I like to do. And of that sort of thing, here's another one I'm up to. Teeny tiny thing. So this is, I've never done this before, but this is colored pencil on hot press watercolor paper. And then I'm using rubbing alcohol to set the colors in. If I find I like this, there is a non-toxic solvent that people use for this. But, you know, for now I'm just in the experimental stage of seeing if I even like these materials. I am looking to try to get a combination of soft and sharp forms. And I'll go back in. This is completely unfinished, because I don't know if you can even see that there's a tiny little face on the cat character, but that's so faint. I need to bring it out. So maybe I'll use white gouache for the eyes. And then I want more vibrancy with these colors. So I'm looking, I have a bunch of, you know, kind of like little trial size material things. And so I'm gonna really, I know this is like, what is this, 1 inch by 2 inches? But I will probably experiment quite heavily on this little tiny rectangle. And then let's see what else is worth showing. Ah, yes. This type of pencil is great. I just have a bunch of stuff. Oh, yeah, that's part of the reason I'm showing this, because since I am in the midst of moving, like I'm putting my studio back in order, so I have all sorts of things that are just out and about. I'm even finding some old paintings that are like 20 years old, so I've been, I'll probably share those too. But this is a fun pencil if you ever want just 2 colors on the go, because it's, you know, red and blue, and it's quite pleasant. The quality of the lead is just very pleasant. I enjoy these a lot. This one's unsharpened, but somewhere around my studio I have a sharpened one. So anyway, that's what I'm up to. I will try to post more often. So yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well. And I'm glad I'm feeling well enough to get back to a little bit of this. Hope you're well. Take care.